Hello and welcome to another episode of Alf Zoo. Today I have my very good friend Kathryn Craig from BMC Software's Analyst-relations with me. She will share her view of where analysts are looking for exciting new trends and also share with us how you, customers and companies, can benefit from all their knowledge. Sometimes it's hard to find your way through the jungle that is analysts' relations today, and Kathryn has long experience that she will bring to the forefront today. Welcome, Kathryn. So glad to have you on board.
Thanks, Alf. I'm glad to be here today.
Um, how long have you been doing analyst relations? Tell me a little bit about what roles you've been in before you came to this. I know it's been a varied background there.
Varied background. I've been in high-tech marketing since, gosh, this is going to date me, since '94. So I've done all kinds of various roles, from channel marketing, strategic alliances marketing, demand gen, developer marketing, then communications, PR and AR hybrid, and then AR solo. So that's sort of where I've been for the past almost 20 years, I guess, 20 plus years.
Well, I think if you bring a broad experience to analyst relations, I think there's so much more you can get in the interaction with them. So when you do talk to them and you do this on a daily basis, what type of trends are they following? What get them excited in the IT and ITSM area? And I'm talking more about the bigger firms like Gartner, Forrester, and so on. What do they wake up?
So I guess the big four right now, the big four trends, Gartner calls the nexus of forces. IDC calls, I think, the four pillars, are really cloud, mobility, social business, social collaboration, and big data. So those are the four biggies right now. And these are trends. Go ahead.
Right. No, sorry.
Gartner surveys a huge population of CIOs each year, and they sort of look at the key top three, but really if you look at the key top four, it matches. The CIO's priorities are really these four as well.
And how often does this change? I mean, to some degree, social, mobile, so on is very new, but then to some degree it's been percolating in the back. Is social and mobile, is that here now? Has that really arrived?
It's arriving. Some firms are ahead of, some enterprises are ahead of other enterprises in terms of what they're doing. From a mobility perspective, what we're seeing happen, obviously, is that people in their personal lives have access to multiple devices, their mobile phones, their tablets, etc., and they want to bring those devices into their work lives as well. And so we're seeing IT have to do this this consumerization of IT movement is happening, where IT is needing to support more and more devices. They're needing to become a lot more customer and user centric in what they do, and they're needing to support more devices in the workplace and to help people have the same experience at work as they have at home.
Are they getting that? Are they actually having a Zabo.com or Amazon.com like experience at work? Because there's various vendors out there that sell that type of experience. Talking to analysts, do you see real deployments and real benefits taking place using social and mobile and so
on? From a social perspective, yes and no. Again, a lot of people in their personal lives are used to having the access to Facebook, to LinkedIn, to Twitter, and so they're interacting in those sort of more immediate interaction mechanisms in their personal lives. They want that at work as well. So some enterprises are deploying social internally, like we use Chatter internally, and so that gives us sort of real-time access to our colleagues. Some enterprises are looking to bring that experience to users and their help desk, so that they can actually interact with their IT service support staff in a much more sort of current, immediate interaction mechanism. So I think some enterprises are leveraging those capabilities today and benefiting from them.
Is that driven by there is a trend that customers are driving this and this whole consumerization IT. But I wonder if that is true. Is it more that the IT departments are sort of realizing the benefits, or is it true that they're being force-fed this, that that the customer coming in, that the average employee comes in and that demands more access? Where does the force come from? Who decides really if you're going to move forward with it?
Well, the force, I think, is coming from users. I mean, they're really demanding a better experience, and they're bringing they're bringing mobile devices into the enterprise. The IT organizations need to determine what they will and what they won't support. But the consumer is really driving the need for a better experience internally. I think they're so used to a much more modern, sophisticated experience externally. They come into business and they're dealing kind of with an antiquated system, and they're saying, you know what, this won't cut it anymore. And the way we used to do things were so much, less efficient, less immediate, less now. We're having to modernize the IT experience in the enterprise. Gartner has shown, though, that as a result of bringing more mobile devices into the enterprise, I think the service desk workload has increased a fair amount, and roughly between 10 and 15% of service desk inquiries are related to mobile devices. So hopefully we see this shift and change. One of the requirements, though, is we're putting more requirements on the IT service support staff, but at the same time there's sort of a greater requirement on end users to become more sophisticated IT-wise, and so to do more self-service, to do some of their own IT. And we're finding that the younger folks at today's day and age are coming to their jobs after college and whatnot, and they're just much more IT savvy and more sophisticated. They know how to get access to information that'll help them do their jobs better. So there's this term that Forrester calls left shifting, and the concept there is that sort of as your workforce becomes more IT savvy, your help desk and your IT support staff can focus on more sort of mission critical things and on really driving business value, aligning more closely with the business and really having the same goals and objectives as the business does and being able to sort of speak that same language.
Cool. Where do you think the biggest, if you look at the back end under financial end or bottom line, if you will, where do you think the biggest impact will be? Is it cost savings, or is it productivity gains, or is it innovation? Where do you think most of the benefits will come, or maybe it's a mix of all of it?
It's really a mix. I think greater efficiencies because service desks are not going to be tasked with so many of the routine, mundane things that they're addressing today, like password resets and things like that. Those things are going to decline. Users are going to be a lot more self-sufficient. So that's going to create efficiencies. It's also going to free up the opportunity for the service support staff to become more innovative and also, more proactive and less reactive. So by proactive, there can be sharing of information about outages and things like that and a proactive push rather than reacting to those outages. So I think, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for innovation, more creative ways of engaging with users. More, in the past and even today, a lot of times a call into the help desk is something that kind of goes into a black hole. You kind of you log a ticket, you don't know when you're going to get, responded to, get any kind of response. Where I think today, users are so much more used to, again, immediate gratification, instant access to help and assistance. So I just think we're going to have greater efficiencies in terms of getting issues resolved more quickly. I think we're going to have opportunity for innovation and for IT to become more of a business partner and to really know how work better with end users, not just sort of see them as a ticket number any longer, but as a human being with an experience and business, business needs.
Stephen Mann over at Forrester used to mention one IT pundit that I enjoy reading. There's a whole force of analysts out there who are thinking about this beyond just the hype, right? Like, actually, how do I actually take social media, fit it into an IT service management, IT operation environment, and make something come out of it? If I, as a customer, want to learn more about this, where do I find out more information about that? How do I actually, learn more about turning this new technology into real life benefits?
It's interesting you bring up Stephen. He's a wonderful analyst to work with, and one of the things I love about Stephen is that he really approaches a lot of what he does from kind of a community aspect. In that, there's the vendors, there's the analysts, and there's the end users. And in some respects, we're all kind of very distinct organizations, right? But we have the opportunity to leverage each other and benefit from each other's experience in a much more, I think, cohesive and collaborative way. So one of the things Stephen is doing, which I think is tremendous, is he's He's working on a kind of a collection of best practices around IT asset management. And he's reached out to roughly around 60 individuals or organizations in the industry, and it's really thought leaders, it's customers, end users, and it's vendors. And he's saying, there hasn't been enough information in the industry, enough sharing, enough best practices around IT asset management use cases, and really how to make organizations really efficient with their IT asset management. And so he's gathering this sort of collection of best practices, and I sort of think about it like Halloween, where my kids go out and they go trick-or-treating, and then they come home, and at the end of the evening they just dump their candy out, and then they kind of sift through what they have. So that's sort of what Stephen's doing now, sifting through what he has. And then from that wealth of resources, identifying the kinds of things that would best benefit organizations, and sharing those best practices.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of all of us coming together. Sometimes I think of there's analysts, and then there's vendors, and we collaborate, but at the same time it's sort of like we're unique and separate. And I think there's this need, and that today's sort of information economy is driving this need for sharing and transparency. And rather than have an end user always go to an analyst to seek information, there's just so much wealth of information that users can share with each other, that vendors can share with each other. And so I think there's a real drive for community that's resulting from the ways that we're doing things today, this whole social collaboration. It's really driving the need for the community to come together.
Well, that's one thing we try to do here with the zoo, is try to create some discussion among peers on different topics. So.
Yeah.
Well, Kathryn, I really appreciate your time. It was wonderful to have you here at the zoo. And next week, Pratik Nahata, one of my best friends and one of the co-founders of Airprise, where I came from, will talk to us about how you build good business apps. This is much harder than many of you know, and those of you who have tried it have sometimes stumbled on many of these small things that can easily be overcome. Pratik will share his over a decade of experience in that field. Until then, take care, be safe.